Hello viewers, welcome back to the one more session, that is session 20th on the chapter definitions. Subject is indirect taxes 1 for the semester 5th. We'll see what is the terms that we are going to discuss today under definition chapter, that is the definition of the drawback and the electronic credit ledger. The learning objective is to understand the definition that's given under section GST Act 2017 for drawback and ECL, that is electronic credit ledger, and also to understand the need of the electronic credit ledger. And outcome is it helps the students to understand the definition in depth and also to learn the need of the credit ledger used by the suppliers. And if we move to the introduction, I told GST is a significant step in the field of the indirect taxes, and GST usually it is levied on the supply of goods or services or both, as in contrast to the present concept of tax structure. Here, to understand the GST introduced in the year 2017 in depth, in clear a concept, there is a need to understand the definitions. As per the definitions, we have studied various terms under the definitions in earlier sessions also, as with regard to the GST, councils, debit note, credit note, and then any deemed exports. So these some terms already I discussed in the previous session. And now is about the drawback. Here the term drawback, it is a rebate on the taxes or any tariffs paid by businesses on goods that were imported into India and then exported out again. Here a drawback is a refund of specific duties, that is duties, fees and any taxes collected from the Indian companies for importing of goods. Duty drawback is made to grant rebate of duty or in tax chargeable on any imported excisable materials and input services used in the manufacture of export goods. The duties and taxes neutralized under the schemes are first is customs and union excise duties in respect of inputs, and secondly service tax in respect of input services. And here the legal framework is provided under section 75 and 76 of the Customs Act 1962, and the customs and central excise duties and service tax drawback rules, that is of the year 1995, issued under the provision of section 75 of the Customs Act 1962, and also under section 37 of the Central Excise Act 1944, and also under section 93. Next is electronic credit ledger. Here the electronic credit ledger, the name itself specifies, it reflects the amount of input tax credit available to the taxpayer. So every claim of input tax credit of the registered taxpayer is eligible for claiming such credit that is credited to his ledger. The amount available in the electronic credit ledger, it is utilized in making payment towards outward tax liability by the registered taxpayers. The form GST, that is form 2, electronic credit ledger, it is maintained in form GST, that is PMT02. This form shall be maintained on the common portal for every registered person eligible to claim input tax credit under GST Act. Every claim of the input tax credit, that is credited to the electronic credit ledger. So the some of the components of form GST PMT2 is that components is the form, it contains the serial number. It has to contain date of deposit, time of deposit, reporting date by banks, any reference numbers, tax paid if applicable, descriptions, transaction type, amount debited or credited, integrated tax, etc. And also the GST payment rules. So what are the GST payment rules for electronic credit ledger? The electronic credit ledger shall be maintained in form, I told, GST PMT02 on the common portal. This ledger reflects the amount credited against every claim of input tax credit taken under the Act. Secondly, this ledger is debited to an extent the liability is set off or discharged using the credit available. Thirdly, there are cases where a registered taxpayer claims refund of any unutilized amount of input tax credit from the electronic credit ledger. In such cases, the electronic credit ledger is debited to the extent of the refund claimed. But however, there are situations where when such refund filled by the taxpayer is rejected either fully or partially. In such a case, the amount debited in rules above is credited to the electronic credit ledger of the concerned taxpayer. The amount credited is restricted to the portion of the claim that is rejected. And furthermore, the said amount is credited by a proper officer through an order in that form GST 03, that is PMT form 3. And nextly, the entries are not allowed to made directly in the electronic credit ledger. Under such circumstances, apart from the rules mentioned above, in case there is any discrepancies in the electronic credit ledger, the registered person communicates to the concerned officer. This communication is made through the common portal in forum GST PMT forum 4. So this is about the GST payment rules for the electronic credit ledger. Next is about the term, that is manufacture. Here the term manufacture is given under section 2 subsection 72. Manufacture means, as we all know, here a manufacture means it is nothing but a person who is engaged in the activity of converting raw materials into finished product. But as per section 2 subsection 72, manufacture means processing of raw material or inputs in any manner that results in the emergence of a new product having a distinct name, characteristics, and use, and the term manufacture shall be constructed accordingly. Under the CGST Act, the concept of manufacture is irrelevant since it is a tax on supply of goods and services. The term manufacture has been used in the GST Act for three purposes, only for the three purposes. First is different tax rates under the composition scheme. Secondly, to maintenance of the for the maintenance of accounts and records. Thirdly, for the transition provisions. Next term is about the market value. It is defined in section 2 subsection 73. So it's also one of the important terms that comes under GST Act. Market value means first is it is the full amount which a recipient of a supply is required to pay. Here the recipient of a supplier, he has to pay, required to pay the amount. And secondly, in order to obtain the goods or services or both of like kind and quality about the same time and at the same commercial level. Thirdly, when the recipient and the suppliers are not related. In this in term, the defines the meaning of the market value. Next is of the mercantile agent, here specified in the section 2 subsection 9. According with that, the sale of goods of Act, mercantile agent means an agent having in its customary course of business as such agent authority either to sell goods or to consign goods for the purpose of sale, or to buy, or to raise money on security of the goods, is known as the mercantile agent. So mercantile agent means he's an agent having, in a customary course of business, in his regular course of business, is acting as an agent or as an authority either to sell the goods or to make consignment of goods for the purpose of the sale, or to buy or to raise money on security of goods. So these are the some terms that's defined under definition under the CGST Act.